Hey everybody, Icy Cat here. Now that Operation Parabellum is out, let's start by taking an in-depth look at Maestro. We'll take a look at his loadout, his gadget, and how to get the most out of him, as well as how to try to stop him. Real quick, before we get into all the information on Maestro, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor for this video, Dollar Shave Club. So guys, we all have our everyday morning routines, and getting ready in the morning is super important to starting our day, and Dollar Shave Club makes that a whole lot easier with a great assortment of products that they have available. But what I bet you didn't know was that they also have a lot of grooming products like toothpaste, body wash, hair, and styling things, so they don't just have the razors. So I mean, look at this, they have really premium quality stuff, and it's actually for less than premium prices. Then you'll definitely want to check Dollar Shave Club out. They've given me a chance to check out their products, and now I want to share that with you too. Dollar Shave Club is basically giving away their Daily Essentials Starter Kit to new members for only $5. Now this starter set features 3 trial size versions of their most popular products. These help you stay really fresh and clean along with their executive razor. In your first box, you will get their shave butter, body wash, and 1 Wipe Charlie's butt wipes. You'll also get their executive razor, which includes their premium weighty handle and a full cassette of cartridges. After the first box, replacement cartridges are sent for only a few bucks a month. This $5 offer is available at dollarshaveClub.com/IcyCat25. Once again, big thanks to Dollar Shave Club for sponsoring the video, and it's because of these sponsors that I'm able to continue to bring you guys the content that we watch. So now let's look at everything that Maestro brings to the table. He is a 3-armor, 1-speed operator. As you can see here, he's a big guy with a big gun, so let's take a look and see what his loadout offers. First up is the Alda 5.56 light machine gun. It does 35 damage with a fire rate of 900 and an ammo capacity for 80 rounds. This weapon stands out as a very unique primary because it is the first defensive LMG. I know that Tachanka has an LMG, but that is his special gadget. It is tied to a turret. Maestro, however, brings to the table an LMG that he can run around with. It's very accurate with low recoil compared to other LMGs in the game, especially if you put that foregrip on it. And it has a highly accurate hip shot grouping. If you feel like running a laser sight on it, you'll also bring that shot grouping even tighter. His other primary weapon is the ACS-12 shotgun. This is an automatic drum-fed magazine. It does only 27 damage, but it has a fire rate of 300, and that is automatic. It is not semi-auto. The damage is a little bit lower, and because it's a shotgun, it will have heavy damage fall off, so you're gonna want to be up close when you're using this. But where it really shines is environmental destruction. Look at this. We're just going to shred an entire wall, and you can open up walls all over the map with this. If you choose this for his primary loadout, you're essentially going to make Maestro a defensive breacher that can just rip apart walls all over the place. But his handguns are also quite powerful too, and first up is the Bailiff 410. It's actually a 410 bore shotgun revolver. Interestingly, it also has a built-in red dot sight, somewhat similar to what Ella and Zofia have. Because it's treated like a shotgun and not a standard pistol, it does not have a headshot multiplier, so if you hit somebody in the head, don't expect them to necessarily drop right away if they haven't been previously damaged. It does a lower 30 points of damage when it hits, and while you can kill with it, it's more handy as an actual tool. This pairs up nicely with his LMG because you can use this gun to pop murder holes in walls to get the line of sights that he can use. Alternatively, this is something you can keep on hand to pop open trapdoors in just a couple of hits. His other handgun is also a revolver. The Karatos 357 is sort of the polar opposite of the Bailiff, so this one's going to have high damage. It clocks in at 78, and it has the same ammo capacity of 5. And the overall design of the weapon works in such a way that it mitigates recoil, and you can definitely tell when you fire this weapon. Follow-up shots are fast and accurate. Secondary gadgets are going to be a choice between barbed wire and deployable shields. You can use either one. However, a little bit later on, I'll show you a strategy for the deployable shield that will actually enhance the use of his gadget. And here it is. This is the Evil Eye deployable turret. You can place this on any flat surface, on a wall, on a floor. You can even deploy this on certain kinds of flat objects. You can't put it on a ceiling though, so even if you can get on top of a table and reach the ceiling, it won't deploy there. When closed, it is completely bulletproof, but when open, it will fire these laser bursts out here. They shoot out quite rapidly, and then it will eventually overheat if you keep firing. The laser will recharge, and you'll be able to fire again. When that visor is closed, it is bulletproof. The laser is able to interact with some objects in the environment and push them around. It won't do anything major, but some of the smaller, lighter objects will get destroyed. Now here you can see, for instance, we have a mirror. You can use this to go ahead and pop the canister. If for some reason you wanted to do that, you could then open that up. That laser can also interact with some other things. If you manage to actually hit Blackbeard's shield enough times with the laser, it will shatter. But it's not just some objects, you can also take player damage from this. So here you can see every time you get hit by it, it causes 5 points of damage. And because it can fire very rapidly, you can string together a lot of hits quite quickly and do some damage. Now, while the camera itself is bulletproof when the visor is closed, when the visor is open in order to shoot, you can actually shoot it and destroy it. As you fire, the meter goes down, and once you reach the red level, it will overheat. But there is just enough charge there that if every single one of your shots connect, you will actually down the player. In this case, they died because it was just a one-on-one match, but that would have actually put them into a down but not out state. Because it's a laser, there is no damage fall off or range limitations on this. So I've actually got somebody on the other end of the map here. They're about 100 meters out. So I was able to shoot at them, and they confirmed that they did get damage from that, the same 5 points. There was no damage fall off even at 100 meters. But it's not just made for damaging people. It has a really strong role as an anti-breaching device. So you can see we've actually got this placed outside at the bottom of the boathouse. As soon as it triggers, we'll take it out. Using them in this role is going to be very frustrating for people that are trying to breach. But you have to be careful on your timing, because as you open and close the shutters, you do make yourself vulnerable. And while this is something that you can do, you have to be careful because you're no longer bulletproof in this state. So all they have to do is turn around and fire into the opening where the visor is. You can fire enough shots rapidly that you can take out quite a few objects. You can see here there's an example where Hibana fires a bunch of pellets. They're all over the place. They're spread very widely apart, so it's kind of hard to get them all at once. However, I did manage to at least reduce the amount of damage that was done to this wall when they attempted their breach. So if we place a turret here on this wall and we wanted to hit these two walls, we're vulnerable from that left side there. When the visor is opened, if somebody is camping that angle, they can destroy the turret immediately. Well, before I talked about using the deployable shield as a way to enhance the functionality of the turret, and this is what we're going to do. If you actually place that deployable shield down, now you can see when we go into our view, we are completely protected from that angle, and we can hit pretty much anything that might come up on that wall and still be able to deny the breach. So let's come over here real quick and look. If there is somebody that was camping this angle, this would be all they could see. They can't get a line on that turret at all, and yet the turret could effectively strike any breaching devices that were placed on that wall. It's a really effective deterrent to anybody that's trying to plant the bomb. It works a little differently than Echo, though. When you're hit by an Echo blast, it cancels the animation on you. Well, in this case, it doesn't. It won't stop the animation, but a player is very unlikely to sit there and let themselves get shot to pieces while they're trying to do the plant. So one interesting thing about the way this gadget works is that if you actually die, your cameras will lock into position. They will no longer be able to orbit. You can't pan, you can't tilt, you can do nothing. The cameras, whatever position they're in when you die, is where they lock. This is different than other camera-based devices in the game that you can still pan around as you view them in the passive observer mode. You can still scan and tag on the cameras, your teammates can scan and tag on the cameras, but you can no longer control their movement. So real quick, we're going to go over a few examples here of useful ways that you can get his turret deployed in areas that will protect the outside of some of these exterior breaches. So here we just expose ourselves for a few seconds, we get a turret up there, and now we can deny anybody that's pushing on these garage doors if they're trying to place any thermite or Hibana charges, things like that. Of course, there are offensive counters to this, but it's useful to know where some of these positions are so that you can stop the attackers from even getting into some of these areas that you used to not be able to do anything about. Here's another one in Clubhouse outside the tunnel. So we'll go ahead and pre-break this wall and run out here right as we switch to the attack phase and drop this turret as quick as we can and then get back inside. When you do that, you're going to want to immediately turn around and reinforce that wall right behind you so you no longer have that gaping hole. But from this spot, we can now deny any breaching attempts on either of these walls, and the run out itself was relatively protected from the spawn position, so as long as you're quick and get back in fast, you should be able to do something like this and still be alright. Here's another handy one in Hereford Base. So you hop out this window here, we'll go ahead and pop one on this wall, I already did, and then if you leave an opening in this wall, tell your teammates not to reinforce it so you can get back in, and then just real quick reinforce that wall again behind you. Now you can see both sides of these. This is an angle that defenders used to not be able to do much of anything about. You can maybe throw out a Valkyrie cam out here, but you couldn't physically deny something. Now with the laser turret, you can do that. As I said before, the camera is completely bulletproof. As it takes rounds with the visor closed, you'll see that you will leave impact marks on the surface of the bulletproof glass. There's absolutely nothing you can do to this thing that will cause it to be destroyed from small arms fire unless the visor is open. Once that's open, all it takes is a single shot to destroy it. The kind of weapon you're using doesn't matter. Even the sniper rifle, one of the most powerful guns in the game, can't do anything to it. Repeated hits to that bulletproof visor won't do a thing. Even melee hits won't do anything to it. You literally cannot break through the shell no matter what you do using these methods. But once the visor is open, you can pop it. The camera is interesting, as I'm sure you've already noticed. It causes people viewed on it to glow in like a bright white, somewhat similar to the way that a forward-looking infrared camera would glow. And that's an important distinction because the camera has another very useful feature, and that is the fact that when a smoke grenade is deployed, he can use it to see them right through the smoke. From his perspective, it's like it isn't even there when you're viewing it through the turret. This also works for smokes gas grenades just as effectively as it does for any offensive smoke grenades. He can see right through the target on the other side and open up. And just to see what this kind of looks like from the other perspective here, we're going to use a smoke bolt, and the same thing. I can't see the target at all, but he can see me, and you'll notice I start taking that damage. It's a very quick and effective deterrent to attackers that are trying to push forward using those smoke grenades. Also, because the camera does have the ability to actually cause players that it sees to light up and glow, it does also make that differentiation for alibis holograms. Obviously, they're just hologram emitters, so they're not going to be doing anything on the camera that would cause you to be confused between what is an actual player versus a hologram. So how do you deal with taking these turrets out if they're bulletproof? It seems very powerful, but really any explosive device will take it out. So you can see a well-placed frag grenade will destroy it instantly. Even putting it up higher on a wall won't necessarily save it. If you've got that fragmentation pattern that goes off underneath it, you can still take it out even from below. Pretty much any kind of explosive device will have this effect. This ash round goes off in the wall next to it, instantly destroys it. Similarly, we'll see here with Sophia's launcher that the impact grenade it shoots out will take it out on contact. Even if you don't have anything like that, improvising a detonation with a breaching charge on the floor will take it out. Any explosives will do. One explosive that won't work on it, however, is the Claymore. It doesn't matter how you set this up, the lasers are pointing right at it, it won't do anything to it. And even if you go in and you open up the visor and expose it, that laser should be pointing right at it and it doesn't go in at all. It looks a little offset from this angle, but it should be going off and it just isn't doing anything. We'll even adjust the placement on that, try to get it a little bit more. Again, opening up that visor does not cause any detonation to go off whatsoever, even with the lasers pointed right at it. One person that doesn't have to wait for that visor to open, though, is going to be Sledge. Using his hammer, he can go right through the shell of this thing and destroy it instantly. So if you notice there's a Sledge on the attacking team, you're going to want to be careful about how exposed you leave your placements on these turrets. Of course, there's a few other obvious counters for the Evil Eye too, and one of those is going to be a Thatcher. If he's in range of that grenade going off, it will disable the camera for a full 10 seconds. This doesn't destroy the camera, it just disables it. 10 seconds later, it will pop back online again. Having your visor open or closed won't make a difference. Similarly, another counter to be expected is Twitch. Now, even with the visor closed, if she shoots it with that dart, it will disable it just like Thatcher for the full 10 seconds. But there is one interesting distinction. That's what happens when you do it with the visor closed. If Twitch manages to hit it when the visor is open, she will actually completely destroy the device. You'll also want to be careful about what kind of surface you put it on. If an attacker manages to destroy the surface that it's sitting on, the camera will also be destroyed. So here Dokkaebi will use her machine pistol to just sort of break apart the wood in a circular pattern around it, and once it's completed, it will shatter. Because as you go up to this, you can see that these are individual thin panes, and all she had to do was break that first thin pane, and then it treated it as no longer having a stable surface to be attached to. Therefore, it was destroyed. Now, this is one that can actually throw some people off. Some people may think that placing it on the backside of a reinforced wall here is safe because that is a non-destructible surface unless you use a hard metal breacher. But you have to remember what you're putting it on is actually still a thin shell and is very easy to take it out. So even though the reinforcement studs are sticking out, you get somebody in here and we'll just have Buck take a shot at this, and he can't destroy the camera directly, but one shot with that skeleton key will take out the wood around it, and that will destroy the camera instantly. Even though the surface behind it is reinforced, it's got that thin panel of wood in front of it, and that was the surface that got destroyed. Now, Capito's fire bolts do not do any kind of damage to the turret either, but taking a direct shot from the dart itself can cause player damage. Even with the visor down, a direct dart to the interior will not destroy it. It should go without saying, but friendly impact grenades are an explosive device, so if you're trying to toss around impacts and you're not careful, so that's something you're going to want to watch out for. Another thing you'll want to be careful of is attaching it to any surface that can be electrified. So if you put this on a reinforced wall and then Bandit comes and decides to electrify that wall, it will short out and destroy that camera, so that's probably a situation you're going to want to avoid. Another expected counter is IQ can fully detect it. It is an electronic device. It shows up on her scanner just fine, so she will have no problem figuring out where these things are. One of the bigger threats that Maestro has comes in the form of Dokkaebi. When she hacks the camera network, that's also going to affect your Evil Eye turret. Now, you don't have to worry. She can't actually control the visor and open it up and cause it to shoot at anything. She won't be able to exhibit that level of control, but she'll be able to move it around, and just like any other camera, she can use it to scan and tag you. You'll know that the turret has been hacked because it has the signature white light instead of the red light like any hacked camera will have. Another thing to know is that if you are on your camera when Dokkaebi uses her phone call, it will kick you out of the camera because you have to actually use your camera to disable the device. So that's a full look at Maestro. He has a really strong loadout. It's powerful in terms of damage and versatility, as well as the ability to be kind of creative with both the gadget itself and the weapons and the combinations you can make with them at his disposal. But he also has a pretty fair number of counters that work against him too, and that helps keep him from being too overpowered with the turrets. Overall, he's a very good addition to the defensive team and allows some strategies that were just not available to the defenders before now, especially in terms of being able to defend the site from outside the objective, even outside of the building if you can get a turret placed out there. The intel it provides while being protected by its bulletproof shell is invaluable. And while there are some counters that can crack through that bulletproof shell, you'll still manage to frustrate a lot of players if they don't have the right gear to deal with it. One thing to be careful of is to use your head about when is the right time to open up that shell and fire versus when it isn't. You can get a very strong urge to go ahead and start firing at people rather than being passive and collecting that intel. And a lot of times that's a reverse trap that they're trying to bait you into because that gives them the ability to respond to it. Sometimes it's just better to collect the intel, not engage because you risk losing your device. But of course, when the time is right, you can definitely cause some major distractions with the device and even do some significant damage. It's definitely pretty satisfying to actually manage to down someone or even kill them with the device. With the anti-breaching capability it brings to the table to frustrate any attacker's attempts to get through some of those walls, the defense has a really creative skill set here that they can put into play. So that wraps up our look at Maestro. Next up, I'll be doing an operator profile for Alibi, so be sure to look for that. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe, and make sure you click that notification icon so you're alerted as soon as I make new content available. If you haven't already, you can also follow me over at IcyCat25 on both Facebook and Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.